Okay, Dennis.
Let me earn my money here. Well, this isn't real yet.
I was out of the country, but I talked to the kids. That was up in Malmo. Tom Clifford is here, right on the move. This is the national president. This is a popular television show in Boston, Irish television show. Island on the Move.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? O'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, guns bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Well, we made it halfway. Did a good job. Soldier song. How does it start? I'll sing a soldier's song, a cheering, rousing chorus, as round a blazing fires we throng, the starry heavens o'er us, impatient for the coming fight, and as we wait the morning light, here in the silence of the night, we will chant a soldier's song. Soldiers are we, whose lives are pledged to Ireland. Some have come from the land beyond the wave, sworn to be free. No more our ancient Ireland shall shelter the desolate of the slave. Tonight we man the burn away. In Aaron's cause come woe or will. Mid cannon roar and rifles steel, we will chant a soldier's song. Thank you very much.
Way to go, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. You did a great job. I'd like to call upon our chaplain, the Reverend William Waters, to bring us start with the invocation. Father Waters.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Loving God, we ask for your blessings as we gather this afternoon. Help us to be aware of your presence at this ceremony as we dedicate the David Burke plaque at this memorial, which represents so much history of the Irish, in the city of Lawrence, which was so important to David. May this gathering today give adequate tribute to the goodness, selflessness, and generous spirit of David. And we ask for this blessing on this gathering as we do all things through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Thank you, Father Waters. Good afternoon. On behalf of Division 8 AOH and LAOH and the Irish Foundation, it's a pleasure and an honor to welcome you here today. Your presence shows the great respect and admiration that you have for our late brother of happy memory, David R. Burke. It was just 4.5 years ago yesterday, May the 6th, 2006, that we gathered at the same location to dedicate the Untitled Memorial. On that day, we honored the memory of not only the victims of the Great Hunger, but other great men and women of Irish heritage from Division 8 AOH and LAOH, as well as other Lawrencians who came before us and made their mark on history. Today we proudly assemble here to honor the memory and add a permanent bronze marker to this great memorial to celebrate the life and accomplishments of David R. Burke, another lifelong Lawrencian, one of the most outstanding Hibernians in the history of Division 8 and one of the greatest Irish Americans of our lifetime. We're honored to have the Burke family with us today. David's wife Patricia, son Kevin, his brother Bob and his wife Mona, his nieces and nephews, relatives and friends. Your presence here today makes this day even more meaningful and special. We thank you for sharing Dave with us for over 40 years. By doing so and allowing us this privilege, his life truly made a difference, not only locally, but well beyond the borders of Massachusetts and on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. For Dave dedicated his life to the core values of economic and social justice for all, human rights, a united Ireland, a lasting peace, preserving Irish history and culture in his beloved city of Lawrence. His devotion to his family, friends, beliefs, and causes was unending, and his contribution unparalleled in our time. At this time, unfortunately, the mayor of the city of Lawrence couldn't be with us today, so we're going to move on with our program. And at this time, we're going to call upon greetings from Ireland, Michael Lonergan, the Consul General.
Very much. Ambassador Flynn, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be back here in Lawrence again on this somewhat chilly afternoon. I'm delighted to be here on this wonderful occasion. I want to congratulate Billy and AOH 8th Division and all of the people involved in this wonderful event. Unfortunately, I arrived in Boston after Dave had passed away, but I was in the city with President McAleese when news came through that he had died, and I remember the great outpouring of affection and sadness that day in Boston when the news came through that Dave had passed on. And I think it's wonderful that so many of his friends and supporters have come together to have this special memory in his occasion. I'm delighted to say that the work that Dave and the AOH do is well recognised back in Ireland, and it's something that we're very conscious of, and it's something I'm very conscious of in the role I have here representing the Irish government in New England. of the incredibly strong ties that bind this part of the world and Ireland. Massachusetts is the most Irish part of the United States. There are few parts of the United States that have the history and connection with Ireland that Lawrence has. I know Dave dedicated a lot of his life and efforts to building on those links, and it's work I know that goes on here with Billy and the various people here in Lawrence, and it's work that I, at the consulate, I'm happy to help with to reinforce and reinvigorate those ties that bind so many parts of this great state and Ireland. So I'm delighted to be here to offer greetings from Ireland. Again, I'd like to thank all those involved with this wonderful event, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening, Margaret.
Thank you, Consul General. At this time, I'd like to call upon Sue Tucker, State Senator, to bring greetings from the Commonwealth. Senator Tucker.
Thank you so much. When this was dedicated a few years ago, I said a community that doesn't remember is a community that has no soul. And I sat down, and it was widely viewed as the best speech ever delivered in the city of Lawrence, because it was very cold out that day too. So I do indeed, as David's senator for so many years, bring the greetings with an official citation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Be it known, the Massachusetts Senate extends its congratulations to the Reverend James T. O'Reilly, OSA Division 8, in recognition of the dedication of the David R. Burke Memorial, honoring his lifelong service and commitment to the ancient order of Hibernians and its founding principles of friendship, unity, and Christian charity. Be it further known, the Massachusetts Senate extends best wishes for continued success, and that this citation be signed by the President of the Senate. And I will give this to Mr. Sullivan, and I also have one very special for the family, and any family members that could just come up and receive this citation from the Senate, remembering this very, very special day. I hope you will find a place in your home for this.
To bring greetings from the AOH National Board, National Vice President of the AOH, Brendan Moore of New York. Worthy Vice President.
Thank you, Bill. I'd like to, first of all, bring the greetings of the entire National Board. We have quite a turnout, actually, from the National Board, having traveled from various places, both local and beyond. It's great to be here. I'd like to start by reading a letter from our National President, who is unable to attend. Dear brothers, I regret that I am unable to join you today for the dedication ceremony of the David R. Burke Memorial at the Ungardamoor Memorial. It is great that your division has decided to honor a great man and Hibernian for his accomplishments not only in Massachusetts, but throughout the United States and Ireland. Dave was a very good friend, and many of his accomplishments will live on in the hearts of those he helped and of those who were lucky enough to have known him in any way. Ungardamoor was one of David's main priorities. When he found someone speaking about the famine in Ireland, he would gently educate them, sometimes not so gently, to the fact that there was never a famine in Ireland. It was a forced starvation, and many people whom he educated loved him for it. I was privileged to have visited Dave a few months before he died, and again I was there for his funeral, and it just reinforced my own belief of how important Dave was to all of us and how much he would be missed. Again, I apologize for not being able to attend, but I do wish you all the best and hope everyone has a wonderful time just being together. And I know that Dave will be looking down on all of you on the 7th. Sincerely, Seamus Boyle, National President of the AOH. On a more personal note, I'd just like to mention briefly that I'm very happy to be here, especially with Pat and with Kevin and with all of our AOH brothers and sisters here in Massachusetts. I would like to say that you did a wonderful job in sending Dave off. And the sun is trying to shine through those clouds. It was out more strongly a moment ago, but it's just indicative of all the warmth that Dave brought into our own lives. Clearly, Dave Burke would want no lengthy mourning. Rather, he would want something to continue to grow and flourish where he has already planted so many seeds. Like his great AOH companions, George Clough, Bill Sullivan, Bob Collins, and Paul Doyle, we all miss Dave's phone calls. But his challenge to each of us is for us to wrap ourselves around those goals and persons that would matter most to all of us and that we would wish to endure, just as Dave committed himself throughout his entire life to persons and personal needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brendan. We're very pleased today to have with us the National President of the Ladies Ancient Order of Hibernians, Margaret Hennessy from New York, and she's going to bring the greetings from the Ladies National Board to this assembly.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to bring greetings from the entire Ladies National Board, and I want to thank you for inviting me to participate in this beautiful ceremony. Dave was a very, very loved man, as well as a true Hibernian, and it's because of his hard work that we have this memorial here today. Thank you.
Thank you, worthy President. At this time, Colter Scolteri Aaron is going to play a piece for us in between. We're very fortunate to have them with us today. Larry Reynolds, who's the head of that chapter, unfortunately had hoped to be with us, but he's in New York at a convention in Buffalo, and he extends his regrets that he could not be with us today. Thank you very much. David was a great supporter of the Corpus Christi Aaron Music Group, and we know he'd be very pleased with your presence here today. I'd like at this time to call upon Richard Thompson, the president of the AOH Massachusetts State Board, to bring greetings from the Commonwealth. Worthy President.
Welcome to Massachusetts on this blessed November day. I'd like to welcome and thank the national board members of both the AOH and LAOH for coming to Massachusetts to play part in this observance of dedication of this plaque to a most deserving Hibernian. I think many of us know the influence that David Burke had beyond Lawrence. He influenced the Hibernians not only in Massachusetts, he influenced the Hibernians throughout the United States. He influenced the Hibernians and the Irish effort of the Hibernians in Ireland. He's well known throughout the United States, his own state, in the country as a whole. Not to mention, you mentioned David's name in Ireland. He's well known in Ireland. I'd like to thank Pat and Kevin for sharing David with the AOH. He's made this organization a better organization. He's inspired many younger men like myself to get involved and stay involved. And I think that's why we're here today, to make sure that we never forget David Burke. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. This time I'd like to call upon Essex County President Francis A. O'Connor of Division 8 to bring some greetings from the Mass State Board. Also, we may add a very good friend of Brother Burke.
Thank you, Bill. A little more warmed up this time. I'd like to thank my brothers from across Essex County, boys from Salem, Lynn, Peabody, and Chris Lawrence and Newburyport for attending in honor to Dave. He was very close to us. He was actually one of my predecessors as president of the Essex County Board. In the interest of brevity, I would like to say that I think Father Water summed it up in tribute to Dave, that he was a man of goodness and generosity, and that was so typical of Dave. Great man of great charity, low key. And many a time he worked just one fast anecdote. He worked for the Housing Authority here in Lawrence, and many a time people would apply for low-income housing and not have the money for the first month's rent, and Dave would put it up for them. And many a time he got beat out of the money too. But that's the type he was. He never complained and he never bragged about it. Personally, he never turned me away when I needed him, and I hope that I can say the same, that he can say the same about me in reciprocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. To bring greetings from the Irish Foundation, Arthur McCabe. Arthur?
Good afternoon. As I offer these comments today, I'm very mindful that although this event is a dedication for Dave, it's also a celebration of his wife, Pat. Pat and Dave were inseparable during Dave's life, and it's impossible for me to think of Dave without knowing that my sentiments also apply to Pat. There's very little I can say today which will capture and convey the fullness of Dave. Love, loyalty, trust, and joy are not easy feelings to put into words, but Dave was all of these and more. He loved life completely, and he lived it intensely. We loved him as a leader, a brother, and a friend. Though a tower of strength and commitment, Dave was soft-spoken and avoided the limelight, except at the St. Patrick's Day luncheon. He spent most of his adult life working for peace and social justice in Northern Ireland. He was tireless in his work with prisoners, their families, and many children's programs in the North. He was also a keen promoter of Irish history and culture, and created the Irish section of the Lawrence Public Library. This monument exists in Lawrence today, thanks to his efforts. It was for these purposes here and in the north of Ireland that Dave and I formed the Irish Foundation almost 12 years ago. On the 17th day of his hunger strike, Bobby Sands wrote in his diary, "Everyone, Republican or otherwise, has his or her role to play. No part is too great or too small. No one is too old or too young to do something. Dave's role throughout his life was immense. He played a continuing, concrete, and enduring role in the peace process in Ireland for over 40 years. His spirits were always high, and his willingness to lend a helping hand to the nationalists of the North and his friends in the city of Lawrence was undiminished to the end. It was because of people like Dave Burke that justice and peace prevail in Ireland today. And even he would be the first one to remind us that much remains to be done. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of Dave and of Pat. Dave gave us strength in his time of trouble, wisdom in a time of uncertainty, and sharing in a time of happiness. He's an inspiration to all of us, and he'll always be on our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur, for those very kind words. At this time, I'd like to call upon Sean Pender, the National Chairman of the Freedom for Our Island Committee, to bring some greetings and remarks. Sean?
Good afternoon. I bring with me some greetings from Sinn Féin, from the Office of Treasurer and the Representative to the United States, Rita O'Hare. Akarja, please allow me to add my tribute on behalf of Sinn Féin to the dedication of this memorial to Dave Burke. Dave was to come to the United Ireland Forum in New York in June of 2009 as an honored guest. Although he was then very ill, he was determined to travel all the way from Lawrence to New York to lend his support. Sadly, that did not happen. In his opening speech at the conference, Jerry Adams dedicated the forum to his memory. When I heard that Lawrence was one of the first cities to support an Irish Unity and United Ireland resolution, I thought immediately of Dave and knew that this was his legacy. Dave's passion for peace and justice in Ireland was undimmed until the day he died. My very best wishes to Pat and Kevin and to all of you who gathered to honor and commemorate a great Irishman. Legat J. Vayan, or with greatest respect, Rita O'Hare, Sinn Féin Representative to the United States. On a quick personal note, I'd just like to recognize the support that I received after having the honor of being appointed by past President Jack Meehan to this role. I found my conversations and phone calls with Dave to be invaluable and much appreciated. I was greatly honored last year to lead a large contingent of AOH and LOH members to a small Irish-speaking school in Twinbrook in West Belfast when we made a presentation of $5,000 in Dave's honor so that the children who speak the great Irish language could learn even more. Today, let us rededicate ourselves not only to Dave, but to all of those who've come before him and work now for one Ireland with justice for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Very true, your words. David would be very appreciative of your comments. This time I'd like to call upon Coltis Colteri-Aaron for another piece, please, just before we begin the dedication of the memorial.
This memorial is dedicated to the memory of our beloved friend Dave Without his tireless efforts, this memorial would not be here. Dave dedicated his life to the values such as economic and social justice for all, human rights, a united Ireland, lasting peace, preserving the Irish history and culture in his beloved city of Lawrence. All of these values are reflected in this memorial. Dave's devotion to his family, friends, beliefs, and causes was never ending, and his contributions unparalleled. Member Division 8 AOH 1968 to 2009, AOH Mass State Board, Division 8 AOH Irishman of the Year 1975, Irish Echo Golden Bridges Award 2007, National Director AOH, National Hibernian Digest Editor, founder of the Irish Foundation, and Division 8 AOH Vice President from 81 to 2009. Sean McBride, AOH Humanitarian Award recipient 2007, founder of the Hibernian Collection and the Irish Room at the Lawrence Public Library. I'm having a little trouble with the Gaelic part, so I'm not going to even try and mess it up. Jack, would you want to read the part? Jack, do you want to read it? Would you like to read the Gaelic part? I think you would do it more justice than I.
Maybe an accent or so on.
Yeah.
Labin Mask and Eve, gur Ege a bed amongst the saints may be here.
And he would be so appreciative of all the kind words that everyone has said about him. They were all true, I have to be honest. I was at home, I was there all those times, and everything he did for the Hibernians, for Ireland. He said that when he accepted his Sean McBride Award, and I just thought that was a nice quote to use, that everything I have done in life has been for the Hibernians and for Ireland. And if he were here, I know he would continue in the same vein. So again, thank you so much for your kind words, for coming. My family, my son and I and the rest of the Burke family are very grateful. It's such a wonderful turnout, and I usually have a lot to say, but just thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
I got a loud voice from my father as well, so I'm not going to use the microphone. He should have maybe took my lead a couple of times on the Hibernian luncheons. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's a wonderful turnout. 4 things my father loved: his faith, his family, his country, and his city. Both countries, native and the U.S. Means a lot to my mother and our family, and it's nice to see that the time and the effort that he put in to the many causes that he believed in is recognized and continues to be recognized, and people are continuing his work and things that he believed in. Thank you all very much for coming up.
Father Waters, if you'd come up and bless the marker, please.
Let us pray. Loving God, we ask for your blessing on this plaque, this marker, this memorial, in honor of David. We pray that all who see it will be inspired to be concerned about the causes concerning the right to life, the respect for the dignity of life of all people, especially for those who are oppressed, as David was so concerned for the people of Ireland. May all who view this memorial see an outward sign representing friendship, unity, and charity, all of which were exemplified in the many aspects of David's life. Heavenly God, bless this plaque, this memorial, this marker, which is a sign of David's energy, dedication, and creativity, and hopefully a reminder for us to integrate these qualities into our own lives. And it's for these reasons that we bless this plaque. The water that reminds us of David's baptism and all of our baptism, and we bless it in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Father Waters. David had many friends in all walks of life, and I think today's assembly just shows very simply the many, many friends he had, that he did have. Many people could not be with us today, but we are very fortunate you all were. At this time, one of his great friends was the Honorable Ray Flynn, former ambassador to the Vatican, and we're very pleased that he's agreed to come here today to say a few words to give us on David, and I'd like to call upon Ambassador Flynn. Please let's give him a nice welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, representative of the Irish government, Consul General and National President of the Ladies AOH, all of you, Father, all of you, the Burke family especially. It's a pleasure to be here. It's you know, as I walked in here with my wife, I looked at, and I went over and talked to the honor guard. Those flags kind of reflect everything that David Burke stood for. Certainly, as Kevin said, his faith. The flag over here representing the Catholic Church. Ireland, the flag of the Republic of Ireland, all that meant so much to him. And he reminded us of his Irish heritage and his love for Ireland all the time. And of course, he was an American patriot as well. And he knew more than anything how to lobby the United States government, and the state government for that matter. And at that time, even here in Massachusetts, it wasn't very popular to start talking about United Ireland, or even peace and justice in Ireland. You would get severely criticized by the media. Dave Burke would help us organize a resolution, and would have that resolution introduced in the legislature. At first, it didn't get too many votes. The next thing you know, legislators would be coming up to me and saying, I'm going to vote for the legislation. I got a number of phone calls from people all across my district. As a matter of fact, one little story for the people from Lawrence. Billy Wall, I don't know if you remember Willie Wall, he was the senator. Willie Wall came down to my office one time. I was a freshman representative, and he said to me, Representative Flynn, I don't know you very well, but you've got to get those people stop calling my house all the time. He says, there's a David Burke up there in Lawrence. He's really having people call me 9 and 10 o'clock at night. That was David Burke. As I say, he knew how to organize. The other thing is, and this is quickly, but I think it's very important to tell you about, the day, as I said, there weren't that many politicians in this country that were talking about Northern Ireland and peace and justice in Northern Ireland at that time. But there was a forum held in New York City, and all the presidential candidates were invited. This was 1992. And Bill Clinton called me up and asked me if I would talk with he and Paul O'Dwyer, famous Irish patriot from New York City, another great Irish minister. If there are two people that go side by side, it's Dave Burke and Paul O'Dwyer, as far as I'm concerned. Well, Paul O'Dwyer and I sat down with Governor Clinton at the time for 1 hour, and to be honest with you, Clinton was just starting to develop a bit of an understanding of the situation in Northern Ireland. But he knew how powerful and how important the Irish vote was in the United States, particularly in Democratic primary. And Bill Clinton sat down there and listened to us for an hour explaining the whole situation. Bill Clinton did everything that we asked him to do in terms of this resolution, this initiative. I immediately called up Dave Burke and I says, Dave, we have a candidate that we can support that is going to bring this issue to the forefront. My friends, there's the beginning of the peace process in Northern Ireland, right there. You probably don't read too much about it, but that's how it really started. It was Dave Burke, who was a central historic figure in that whole thing. And it was Bill Clinton that made this commitment to Paul Dwyer and myself, and I gave that the job of helping organize the United States to Dave Burke, and look what he did. So when we're paying tribute here today, this isn't just Dave Burke from Lawrence or Dave Burke from the AOH. This is Dave Burke, a national figure. He's a national figure, and the history books ought to record that, because the contribution that he made for peace and justice in Northern Ireland, dealing and reminding us always of the great hunger in Northern Ireland, and the Gaelic language and the library that he established here is legendary. There is no other person in America, in my opinion, that has done more for Irish Americans and helped bring us all together than Dave Burke. And that's the reason. And that's the reason I'm so proud to be here, to join you also, Irish American patriots, in paying such a tribute to an extraordinary man. Pat, Kevin, thank you very much for being part of history, by allowing Dave to spend so much time on the trail to bring about peace and justice in Ireland. And we appreciate you. This is your day, as it is David's, because you deserve our thanks, our gratitude for what you did here over these last 40 years. Dave Burke is a special man. May he rest in peace. God bless him. I'm sure there's a special place up in heaven for Dave Burke. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Flynn. We're very honored you're here today with us, because it was just 4.5 years ago you were with us also when we dedicated this monument, and we're very proud that you could come back for this dedication. We thank you very much. As has been mentioned today, no one probably was a harder fighter for Irish causes than Dave Burke. And he also could speak, believe it or not just Irish, but Polish. We're not going to say the prayers today in Polish, but we're going to ask the Cumna Gaelic League of Boston, led by past National President Jack Meehan, if they'd come forward and say the prayers in Irish for our beloved friend.
Gilly Bachaja. Achasarum Gava in Shunyov, I guess, Bwala Mara, Napadaki in Laga, O Dave Burke. Anamanahet, I guess in Vic, I guess in Spirit Neve, Amen. Arnahet, Ata Aniv, Ganifad the Anam, Gadaga the Rear. Ganyenta da heel erin talav mar nith ar nith. Shade of a water, a talon de grasta, ton tiernlat, is banahe hu de romana, agus a banahe torra de vrinya isa. Shade of a water, a talon de grasta, ton tiernlat, is banahe hu de mana, agus is banahe torra de vrinya isa. Shade of a water, a talon de grasta, ton tiernlat, is Banahu Idamana, agus is Bana Torah de Vrinya Isa. Glór Danahe, agus Don Wick, agus Don Spiroid Neve, Maravir Dus, Maratá Nish, agus Maraveh Gabrach, Tre Shield Nahil, Amen. Nana Manahet, agus in Vic, agus in Spiroid Neve, Amen. Slan Tamil Dahi, Mahara, agus Fekabe Hu Arisht, Idir Nanog, Ganyena Dia Trokara, Dahi, agus Gaduga Dia Swimnis Syria Anam. Garamahat.
The money, Judy, especially. The money, Judy, especially taking your block of how many shot in Macarja, as Boston. As would you come on the Gaelic, agus one organization that got a lot of help from Gay Burke. Bushak Begmid was with the new Pakia out Dahi de Busta. Then I had to check could when you hear Shelby Lawrence, you him untouched on to him. A hundred again with her Bunake, go cultura, but Wallish and Gaelic gave a Porsche on. We chartmach oit special to agree agus an agna gach gael gach gael den whistle shop. Fear whale agus carry hirish na gael. We nina did trokere at a anam whistle gael. Ramadi agus an ish by dawn agin a breedna at the apart.
Copies with the CD, so we're gonna have it, they're gonna sing the song for us.
Thank you for that. The video works.
That song. I felt a lot of that.
Maria, Gascal, Green.